What's up, YouTube? So this morning, first holiday season at the house, and the local fire department come by, with the Santa Claus and the elves. That's always cool to see. I remember from when I was very young, used to look forward to that at my old house. I come down the street, around the holidays, just before Christmas, hand out candy canes and whatnot. So I saw the fire truck come. I go outside, wave, take a couple pictures, and one of the guys dressed up as an elf comes up, gives me a candy cane, and he's wearing Dallas Cowboy gloves and a hat. And he looked at me. I'm wearing my Eagles shirt and hat, and he said, "Sorry for you." And I go to the mall, last second, well, not quite last second, but last minute, looking around, Christmas gift, whatever. And I'm in the Models. I see a guy there in a Cowboys sweatshirt, hoodie, and, I just look at him and I said, "Were you wearing a Broncos one last year?" He said, "It was hard to wear this last year, but I can wear it proudly this year." I see another guy in the mall dressed in Dallas gear, and the guy, like I said, man, I'm a jersey collector, and I just don't understand the tight wearing jersey fad. The guy looked like he had a jersey on was like a size smaller than he should be wearing, just wearing a Des Bryant jersey. I'm like, it's bad enough you're wearing Dallas stuff, but come on, man. I mean, I'm an OG jersey head. You gotta wear them big, Let them loose on you, man. It's just, come on, man. You're not on the field. What are you wearing that tight for? I mean, come on, dude. So that basically is what started my day. And then the Eagles game happened. And, of course, as we all know, it was another L. I think they're 5-8 right now. I'm starting to lose track. The worst thing that you can have in December is being apathetic for your football team. And, and there was talk going into this game, well, if they beat the Redskins and they win out the rest of the season, there's a 50% chance they still make the play. I mean, go away. I mean, even if somehow they would have won this game, they're not going to go the rest of the season without a loss because they just don't have the talent. And I will say this, and I've really bashed, the last few weeks, and I've been, just upset and just downtrodden, and we're do they even care anymore? I will give them credit. Today they played with heart, and they did. They played with passion. They fought the Redskins a bit after a cheap hit on Darren Sproles. I mean, look, they came together as a team and they played a pretty good game. Unfortunately, they just don't have the talent. I mean, you can only do so much with what you have. There's no playmakers on this offense. There's no receiver that's going to tear the cup, that's going to make an opposing defense be fearful of anything. And what you see is what you get. They're dealing with injuries, and offensive line is down to like some third stringers in some situations. Thank you, Lane Johnson, for being an idiot in those PEDs. It is what it is. They don't have the talent to compete. They have a rookie quarterback, a rookie head coach. They're, 3 deep now into the offensive line in key positions. It's tough. And I'm not making excuses for them. I'm really not. But it's the harsh reality. They're just not good enough. I mean, the 3-0 start, as the season started, it just seems so long ago now. It's like, did that even really happen? Seeing how they're playing now. It's disheartening. The only thing I can say for the rest of the season, and I forget who it was. I forget what host said this on WIP late in the week. But the only thing the only thing this season that's left of it now is, I believe, 3 games, is assessing who wants to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Now, obviously, Carson Wentz is going to be here, and some of the other young players that they have, they're going to be here. But as a collective unit, as a whole, what players want to be here? What players want to help turn this thing around within the next few years? Who wants to be a Philadelphia Eagle, and who's just here to collect a paycheck? Those are the type of players that they got to assess. Because you can't have players on this team or any team that all it's about is collecting a paycheck after every game and, whatever happens, happens. I want players who and it's so cliche to say this, and I get that, but I want players who care. I want players, when you lose, it means something. And it doesn't just mean something because, you lose a game and, it's because it's your, it's your job. But it means something because you let down a fan base who cares. A fan base who's been there forever with this team. I mean, say what you want. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles fan base is not a fan base that has a bunch of people that just jump on when times are good. These fans care about this team. I know because it's me. And when I walk around, and I, after losses, and I see the looks on people's faces in this area, I mean, you can tell just by the looks on people's faces after an Eagles game, whether it was a win or a loss. This team means something here, and I know we take a lot of heat with other fan bases, and they always love to remind us about rings and about, this, that. I gotta tell you, most of those, I won't say most, some of those fan bases, you got a lot of people in there that just jump on when times are good. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to call out fan bases here and saying whatever, but I see it. I'm walking around the mall, I mean, last year I don't see anyone with Dallas stuff on. This year, all of a sudden, here come the Dallas people. And I'm sorry, but that's... I mean, as an Eagles fan, I know we're always there. You hear from us when we win, and you damn well hear from us when we lose. And there's been a lot more losses than wins in recent years. And this is a franchise that has had more losing seasons than winning seasons. I get that. That's why it means more to us when we have when the football gods like to shine down on us every once in a while and give us a winning season. Or that era with when Andy was here as the head coach and they had, playmakers on both sides of the ball and they were going to NFC title games and eventually a Super Bowl. I mean, that meant so much to us. So much to us that basically this fan base took over Jacksonville. And the Patriot fans are seen as a good fan base, right? Well, who outnumbered them 10-1 at that game? Not just in the stadium, but in the city of Jacksonville. It was all Eagle fans. That Super Bowl would have meant the world to us because we were always there. We're always there for this team. When they win, when they lose, we're always there. This is a fan base that cares about this team. And I'm not saying other fan bases don't. Please don't misconstrue what I'm trying to say. But part of the reason why I wanted to do this series some years ago is because I wanted to show people what it is to be a Philadelphia Eagles fan. We don't get those nice powder puff 30 for 30s or football lifes talking about our fan bases. Maybe someday we will. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping we do because we've earned it. And you get, my God, they get all these fan bases. They just shine so much light on them. Why not us? All we're known for is booing frickin' Santa. Is the frickin' booing of Santa Claus back in the how many years ago that was. I wasn't even alive for that. Or throwing snowballs, or booing Donovan on draft day, even though that wasn't booing Donovan. For those of you who don't know, that was booing the organization. Because at the time, the fans thought that Ricky Williams was going to be the savior, and the reason for that is because basically everyone who was talking up the draft, and at the time the mayor of Philadelphia, Ed Rendell, said, yeah, Ricky Williams is good. It has to be the guy. So basically all the Eagle fans had in their mind at the time was Ricky Williams. And when Donovan McNabb was drafted instead of Ricky Williams, they booed. There were a group of 30 fans there, and they booed. My friend Jason's the captain of the Dirty 30. He was one of them. I wasn't there. But, the fans booed. They weren't booing Donovan. They were booing the Eagles organization because they thought that the Eagles organization screwed it up again. Like they've screwed up other drafts previous to that. So they weren't booing Donovan McNabb. They hardly even knew who Donovan McNabb was, for God's sake. I mean, they knew who he was. Obviously, he had a stellar go at it with Syracuse, but they weren't booing Donovan. Why would they boo a player who was first drafted on a team and haven't even played a snap? They were booing the organization because they thought yet again the Eagles made a bad pick. If you want to know where I was that day, I was in a field trip in my college class. Typography class. We went to a print shop. It was a small class. I came back. I was in the car with the teacher and a few other kids. There was only like 3 or 4 of us that went on that trip. But I remember he was coming back. He had the radio on, and it was WIP, and they announced the pick, and the Eagles select Donovan McNabb, and you heard the booing. I mean, I was sitting there in the car. If you want to know what I was doing, I was sitting there thinking, well, I hope they hit on this. I said I would have liked to have had Ricky Williams, but you know what? I'm gonna let's see what the kids got. Let's see what Donovan McNabb's all about here. I knew we needed a quarterback. I mean, yes, I was disappointed because I wanted Ricky Williams just as much as all the other Eagle fans. I can't lie about that, but I wasn't sitting there in the car booing. I love how we all get pinned at that. Oh, all Eagle fans booed Donovan. No, go away. It was 30 people. And yes, the 30 people, made it seem like all Philadelphia was doing that. It wasn't all Philadelphia. People need to look at the history a little better, or learn the history a little better. Just like why the Eagle fans were booing that guy dressed as Santa Claus back in the 60s. If you want to know why, and I hope you guys can bear with me for this, the reason for that is because the Eagles at that time had a chance to draft O.J. Simpson in the draft that season if they would have lost that last game. And they ended up winning that last game. So at halftime of the game, the Eagles fans were already disappointed because they were blowing a chance at drafting O.J. Simpson. The fact that it had been a mess of a day. The day before, I believe, or even into the day, it had snowed, but it was also very sloppy, the field. There was like mud and snow, and the Eagles every year had a Christmas parade on the field for Christmas. And, they had floats coming into the stadium and, a whole, basically a parade in the stadium at Franklin Field. Well, that year they couldn't quite get the floats in because it was too snowy and muddy to get the floats into the stadium. So the Eagles PR was starting to go a little nuts trying to figure out, well, how are we going to do this? And they saw a guy in the stands, basically a drunk fan, dressed as Santa Claus. So they said, well, we need a Santa Claus, let's get him. So they brought this fan out of the stands, put him onto the field, and had him parade around waving at people. Basically a schleppy-looking Santa Claus. So not only were the Eagles blowing their chances at O.J. Simpson, but they couldn't even get the Christmas parade right. So the fans were already upset. They see this guy, this schlep, walking around in a cheesy Santa Claus suit, waving at people. Well, what are you going to do? They let their frustrations be heard and seen. And they booed and they threw some snowballs at him. And hence, Philadelphia booing Santa Claus. No one would have even known about it if it wasn't for Howard Cosell, who had a weekly football show on TV at the time. And he made mention that in Philadelphia, the Eagles go on to win the game, but the Eagle fans go on to boo Santa Claus and throw snowballs and whatnot. No one would have ever known about the thing if it wasn't for Howard Cosell back in the day. And Howard Cosell had a personal vendetta against Philadelphia fans for whatever reason. So it was his way of saying, you know what, These fans are so bad, they'll even boo Santa Claus. Basically, something like that. So that's why the Philadelphia fans booing Santa Claus, and, the whole thing kind of took off. Again, it wasn't that Philadelphia was saying, we hate Santa Claus. It was that, come on, man, they can't even get the Christmas parade right. Again, I wasn't there. This was before my time. All right, I was born in 1978. Same year Halloween came out. That's right, Michael Myers and me. Gotta think about that, don't you? But, so I heard the actual accounts of what happened that day at that home Eagles game at Franklin Field back in 1960, whatever it was, and the booing of Santa Claus. Well, go ahead. Make your own opinions after that. But people just need to learn the history. And you know what? It's a lot of, whenever we get pinned as the people that booed Santa Claus, it's just a lot of lazy journalists out there. It's an easy thing to do. It's like an easy target. Well, they're the fans that booed Santa. They're the fans that booed Donovan. They're the fans that... Go away. You know nothing about what this area is all about. I live here. I know what this is. Don't give us any 30 for 30s on what we've had to put up with all these years with this damn team. We're not Cleveland, so, It's like I've always said, after these games, I will always make a video. And really, since I've started doing this, we haven't had any seasons to be proud of. Most in part because of that frickin' chipmunk-looking fool, Chip Kelly, and all the things that he did, getting rid of the talent. Which, by the way, and I know he scored a big touchdown for them today, and I want him back. This offseason, I want D-Jax back here. He belongs here in Philly. He doesn't belong in Washington. He belongs in Philadelphia. He was one of my all-time favorite Eagles. Him and LaShawn McCoy and that frickin' Kelly gets rid of them for no damn reason, other than, just because I can. You wonder why he's a failure as an NFL coach. You wonder. Yeah. Had some great players on this team when he got here. Great offensive players, and he got rid of all of them just because he could. What an idiot. But I digress from that. The organization has a chance to bring back one of those guys that Chip Kelly, because he's just a buffoon, got rid of, in Deshaun Jackson, and I would absolutely bring him back. You know what? I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it. Carson Wentz, I don't even know how to assess Carson Wentz, because he has no one to throw to. I mean, there's not one receiver that can get any kind of separation on this team. And I will say this. I will say this. Zach Ertz, you know what? You basically Olayed a block last week. Hat off to him. He had a nice game. 9 catches for 99 yards, something like that. I mean, he showed up. I mean, there were players today that showed up. And I want to see more of that. The problem with Zach Ertz is, like, he'll have a big game, and you won't see him for, like, 2 or 3 weeks. What he did today, that's what I want to see out of Zach Ertz the rest of the season. The next 3 games. Give us something. Because, it can't just be about wide receivers. Tight ends are a big part of offenses. You look at the offenses that are doing really well right now, tight ends, big part of it. So Zach Ertz has got to step up. Brent Selleck, the guy's been a warrior here for many years. Unfortunately, he got hurt today, long snapping. Because the long snapper, John Dornbach, shout out to him. He has been one of the longest tenured Eagles. I think today he tied, I believe, or broke Harold Carmichael's consecutive game streak or something like that, start streak for being a Philadelphia Eagle. He gets hurt. Brent Selleck comes in. He gets hurt. But Brent Selleck, love him. He's been a great... Talk about a guy who wanted to be a Philadelphia Eagle and has deserved wearing the uniform and playing in his town. That's Brent Selleck. But he is long in the tooth. He's not young. And Zach Ertz, he's got him in that youth. Trey Burton, he's got him in that youth. So these guys got to step up. They're the future of tight ends on this team. They got to step up the rest of the way. Carson Wentz, I think, again, I know people have been harping, you the media, they all overhyped him. I mean, come on, man. What quarterback is going to, with this offensive line and with these receivers, and basically not even trying to run the ball, what quarterback's going to have any kind of success in that type of system? Not many. God bless the one if there is. So, Carson Wentz, again, I want to see him with some sort of weapons. I want to see, I think then we'll have a better opportunity to say, is he going to be the future or not? I mean, you can't sit here and say, look at what he did since week 3. Look at this, look at that. Look at what the team has done since week 3. Since the bye week, collectively, what has this team done? They've shown up for like a handful of games. But yes, I do believe he can be the future franchise quarterback for this team. I just think you need to build this team around him offensively. You got to get an offensive line in place. You got to get wide receivers. You got to have a running game. You got to try to run the ball. And the guys who are going to be here have to keep stepping up. Zach Ertz, Jordan Matthews. Yes, I say it tongue-in-cheek a bit, but Nelson Aguilar. I mean, these guys are going to be here. They're not going anywhere unless there's some sort of trade this offseason. They are not going anywhere. They will be Philadelphia Eagles next season. So they have to step up. Guys on the offensive line that are still going to be here, guess what? They got to step up. Even the backups. You got to step up. They got to prove that they're worthy of being Philadelphia Eagles. Of being players this fan base can get behind and cheer and want to cheer. Not be apathetic towards. And that goes on both sides of the ball. Right now, it's all about evaluating who wants to be here. Who should be Philadelphia Eagles for this turnaround, to rebuild this team. It's going to take time. It's going to take a few years to rebuild and to get competitive again. It's just, you know what? That's just how it is. And as a fan base, I know we've been so damn patient. But we're going to have to be a little more patient, too, for a few more years at least, until they can get, the players and the weapons on both sides of the ball. I don't really even know how to assess Doug Peterson. I have no idea. I think it's kind of unfair, to go through this season, let's get another coach. I honestly, I don't think that's the answer. Because, again, it's like being on a hamster wheel or the Chip Kelly wheel. You just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You're not going to get anywhere. The hope that we have to have is that Doug can, he's made mistakes this season. He's done some good things this season. The hope is that he's got to get better. The coaching staff has to get better. It's on Howie Roseman, too. It's on him to, get the players this offseason. Not just in free agency, but they got to hit in the draft. Even though they don't have a high first-round pick, barring what Minnesota does the rest of the season, they got to hit on whatever pick they have there in the first round. They got to hit on the other rounds. Because you can build a team through. Most of these teams that are successful right now, look at them. Draft. The teams that just do it in free agency, that's not how you win. You got to hit in the draft. You got to hit on offensive line. You got to hit on defense. You got to hit on play. You got to get some playmakers in the draft. Wide receivers, running back. And again, I do think they hit on Carson Wentz. I do. But let's see what he's about the rest of the season, even with the limited weapons. Let's see what the kid's about the rest of the way. I mean, if it wasn't for Carson Wentz, there would be no reason at all to watch this team the rest of the season. I'm just being honest. But at least we got to watch what he's going to do the rest of the season, these next 3 games. I think he did a pretty good game today. The end he got strip sacked. He's got to feel that pressure. He's got to get better at that. And, limit the turnovers. Strip sacked on the side where Lane Johnson would have been. Again, thank you, Lane Johnson, for being an idiot. Um, right now, that's what the rest of the season is. The rest of these 3 games, it's about assessing who can this team, what players are going to want to be here for this turnaround, for the rebuild. Who should they keep for the rebuild? What players are, you know what? And they were called out this week. They were called out by the fans. They were called out by the coaches. I think for the most part they responded today with a pretty decent game. They didn't win, but they gave effort. They showed heart out there today. Can't be too upset about this one. It's disappointing they lost, as always, but at least they showed us something today. And for the love of God, Nolan Carroll needs to go away. I mean, that Pierre Garçon touchdown. I mean, if you look at that touchdown, Nolan Carroll, does he turn around at all once to look for the ball? No. Isn't that what you're supposed to do as a cornerback? Turn and look, turn your head to see if the ball's coming? It's so damn frustrating with these corners. And look, shout out to Leotis McKelvin, a pick 6. He actually showed up for a play. He still gets burned a lot, but he showed up for that one. I feel the disappointment, Eagles Nation. Believe me, I've watched this team since '93. I've seen a lot of seasons like this. I've seen seasons, believe it or not, that were worse than this. I've seen seasons that were better than this. But going into this season, I said this was about rebuild. This is about this season with a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. It's about rebuilding. It's going to take time. And they go off to a 3-0 start, and we're all like, ooh, maybe the rebuild's going to come closer than we think. And then, no. Detroit game happens. Washington game happens a week later. And then the rest of the season basically, been more losses than wins. But I saw something in the quarterback in those 3 games. And I've seen some good with Carson. Honestly. Throughout this season. It's growing pains. I mean, he has next to nothing on this team. At no playmakers. And an offensive line that right now has a lot, has some injuries, has Lane Johnson with the PEDs. It's not a complete offensive line. Again, I'm not throwing excuses at Carson Wentz, but I'm also saying that, once he has a full complement, I think we'll see some really good things. And hopefully the rest of this season, crushing my power cord here, hopefully the rest of this season he can show us some good things, even with the lack of playmaking weapons on the offensive side of the ball, which hopefully starting this offseason they'll start to get. Deshaun Jackson, #bring back D-Jax. And again, it doesn't take one offseason. It takes time. We have to understand that. As a fan base, I think we, for the most part, have been more patient than we should be over the last how many years. But hopefully, what they did this offseason by bringing it, by drafting Carson Wentz, bringing in a few more, pieces to the puzzle. Hopefully, going into next season, they can assess who is going to be here, what players want to be here, what players are actually care about this, care about putting on the uniform and the helmet, care about playing in front of these fans, that care about them. That's about assessing what players are going to be capable going forward too, and helping to turn this thing around in the right direction, which hopefully will happen sooner than later. The FC East, look, it's a good division. I mean, last year it was awful. This year I think you're seeing what the NFC East is and what it's going to be for the next how many years. Dallas isn't going away. The Redskins aren't going away. Giants aren't going away. They're going to be good for a number of years. This is going to be a very competitive division, and you'd rather that than just a weak division, winning a weak division every year, So it's up to the Eagles. Look, they're in a tough division, a lot tougher than it looked like when the season started. So they're in a tough division, and it's up to the brass to determine who is going to be here, who should be here going forward, to help turn this thing around. And then it's about the offseason, the draft. And just getting better. Getting better. That's it sucks. It does. I mean, There's no sugarcoating this. This has been an awful year. And now it started so promising, and now it just has such a sour taste right now. But the hope is that they, going forward, they can make the moves that they need to make that start, to continue to start this rebuild. I don't know. I know. I feel like I've gone on in circles a few times, but I don't know what else to say. It's disappointing. I was encouraged at least by how the team responded this week and played with a little more passion and heart. They played hard today. It's the one thing I can take away from this game, that at least they played hard. They gave effort today. And we didn't see that the last two games, but we saw it today. I will say that. And I applaud the players who played hard for doing that. It's hard this time of year when you're pretty much out of it to have a game where you're playing hard. But it's those players who do that you can tell these are the guys that we got to keep. These are the guys we want to be here. Because it's easy to play at a high level when you're winning. And you're having a team where you're making the playoffs perennial. It's easy, to have that. But to do that when you're in a down year, to still have guys that play with that effort and give that heart, those are the type of players you want to keep. Those are the type of players that we want to say, yeah, they're Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to be here when the times are good because they're playing tough when the times are bad. They're showing us something. And we need players like that to be here. Where it means something to wear the jersey and to put on that helmet with the wings on it. And to give effort and heart for these fans who spend good money week after week to show up for these games. And have been there for years. Or the fans that aren't at the games, like me. In front of the TV watching them, for the most part. I go to a game every now and then, but I'm not a season ticket holder or anything like that. My season ticket's right here. So I've rambled on for almost 33 minutes. Again, I'm sorry. I know my videos are long. I always have a lot to say. It's communications background, I guess. Listen, to the Eagle fans out there and for all the other fans out there, I make these videos. I'm not an expert, I'm not, but I'm a fan, and this team, this is my team, and I live and die with them, and you know what, I've died a lot more than I lived. I'm kind of like a zombie, I guess, but I care about this team. I want to see this team succeed. Seasons like this are just so difficult to watch. I have hope that Carson Wentz can be that future franchise quarterback. I have hope that Doug Peterson can be that coach, that's going to turn things around in the next few years. That's all I can have as a fan right now, because there's no magic pill this offseason that's going to change things around, overnight. It's going to take time, and I understand that as a fan. You know what? It is. It's a process. And we were kind of a little fool's gold at the beginning of this season when they were 3-0, and we were feeling so high after that game against Pittsburgh, and as a fan, that's what you're going to do. And it's been a letdown ever since. It's been awful. I mean, games like last week and the week before against Green Bay, just not even showing up. Well, they showed up today, and they showed us something. And I think some of those players that played with heart and played hard, they showed us something. And I think those are the type of guys we want to have on this team going forward. Those are the type of players you can build a team around. And that's what the rest of this season is all about. The rest of the season is all about seeing what players want to be here. What players are going to help this team turn things around in the next, coming seasons. And those are the players that I want to have here. The players that aren't, they can go away. And yes, you need talent. And this team right now, there's a lot of lack of talent at the key positions. There's a lot of lack of talent, and they need to replenish that talent. I don't know. I've rambled on too long, as usual. I thank those who hung in there with me. I'm an Eagles fan. I'm never going to be anything else. And people can tell me all they want about rings and about how you haven't seen this or that. Well, I know what I do see every week, and that's my team play. And for good or bad, I'm going to be there. I live in this area. This city means a lot to me. Being a Philadelphia fan means a lot to me. I care about these teams. They've broken my heart so many times. I feel like the frickin' Tin Man. But I care for these teams, and I want them to have success. And the good years that we have with them, as few as they are, mean a lot to me. I mean, you see this pennant behind me. It means a lot to me. It means the world to me that at least I saw one of my teams win a championship, and I was at the parade. I still have the confetti from that parade in a bag. That's what winning a champ. That's what winning means to me. It means that much. Because you go through some ridiculously horrible years around here with these teams. We're not one of those blessed cities that seems to win a lot, and when they have down years, it's not that many. It takes a little more to be fans of these teams, and I'm not saying that, to put other fan bases down. I'm saying that because it's the God-honest truth. And I hope, if anything else, me making these videos every week during the football season, you guys can see this. You guys and gals out there can see what it is to be a fan of a team that is so frustrating to be a fan of at times, like this season. But we're there. We're there every week. We don't run and hide. That's not what this fan base is all about. It's never what this fan base has been about. We get criticized a lot for booing and this and that, but we don't run and hide. At least most of us don't. At least I can say I don't. And I know all the fellow Eagle fans who make these videos on YouTube, they don't either. And they're always there. There's a pride that comes with being a fan of these teams here. And that's something that you can see. When you're in this city, you see what, the pride that people have for the teams. It's just they let us down a lot. But we're proud to be fans of them. We just want them to get better. The Sixers, the Phillies, the Eagles, of course, and the Flyers. Although the Flyers, hey, you know what? Shout out to them, man. 9 straight wins. They have at least given us something. And a lot of nothing that's going on in professional sports this season. The Flyers, this year I should say, the Flyers have at least in recent weeks have, they have played tremendous. 9 straight wins, longest winning streak in the NHL right now. Shout out to them, hats out to them. You got the Flyers right there too. So I'm happy for that. But I'm not happy, of course, with another Eagles loss and another losing season for them. But it's about rebuilding, retooling, figuring out who wants to be here, who should be here, and assessing that the rest of the way for this coaching staff and for the brass. It's for them to assess. And you know what, Jeffrey Lurie, he's not without blame in all this. He's been here a long time, and he's overseen some really good years. He's overseen some really bad years, and he's not without blame in this. The Chip Kelly debacle, that's on him. Phone call I gotta take. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Go Eagles.